Singapore will ease out of its COVID-19 circuit breaker, reopening in phases from the 2nd of June. And this will be done in 3 phases to protect people at work, in the community and at home. The first phase will focus on restarting businesses and economic activities that don't carry a high risk of coronavirus transmission. Schools at all levels will also reopen either in phases or with their cohorts thinned. Families will be able to visit parents or grandparents, but with restrictions in place to protect vulnerable seniors. The multi-ministry task force has outlined specific measures, saying a high level of vigilance by everyone will help the country regain some degree of normalcy.
If community transmission rates can remain low and the situation remains under control over the next few weeks, we can then move into phase 2 of safe transition, with a gradual resumption of more activities, both economic and social activities, and gradually transition to phase 3, which is a new normal to provide a safe nation. The multi-ministry task force will keep a very close watch on the situation. I want to caution that we may have to tighten some measures in a targeted way, or slow down our transition to the next phase should there be a significant resurgence of cases.
A third of Singapore's workforce and nearly 3/4 of its economy will kick into action on the 2nd of June. Currently, only essential services, or about 20% of businesses, are allowed to open their premises. The reopening will be done in phases, starting with specific sectors. The first phase will include firms in manufacturing and production, finance and insurance, wholesale trade, transport and storage, as well as professional services. Selected services such as motor vehicle and air conditioning servicing will also be allowed to open. Hairdressers can also do more than just basic haircuts. The task force also said that phase 2 is likely to be made up of multiple stages. In the earlier part, businesses like retail and F&B outlets like restaurants could be allowed to open. Beyond this, other activities like things like entertainment events may be allowed. Such companies will have to put in place new measures to ensure that they could restart operations safely. And Michelle Teo joins us for more on this. Michelle, tell us more about how businesses will go about reopening.
Well, the task force is allowing such businesses to open in phase 1 because they mostly have limited or no interactions with the public and operate in what the task force calls a static controlled environment that can put in safe measures more quickly. Now, some also have significant economic linkages within and outside of Singapore that help to continue trade and secure essential supplies. Trade and Industry Minister Chan Chun Sing also said that a consideration is into making sure that workers are kept safe. Still, he says those reopening must complete safe management measures, and these include things like safe distancing, staggered office hours, no cross-deployment of staff, proper accommodation of workers, and making sure staff don't mingle out of work. He said any firm that doesn't comply with these rules will be forced to close. Still, Mr. Chan added that most of the workforce must still maintain work-from-home arrangements as much as possible.
Companies will be required to submit their manpower details within 2 weeks of resuming operations. So they will need to submit the number of workers who need to be on site. The information and website for the submission will be made known next week. I'd just like to say that we urge all companies to practice good management practices so that they minimize the number of workers required on site to the smallest number possible. And we will benchmark the various companies across the same industries and sector. If the manpower numbers are excessive, we will reach out to the company to understand their requirements and to review how we can better support the company and adopt a higher telecommuting workforce.
Now, as for companies that cannot open from phase 1, they still have to prepare safe management measures. And these include retail outlets, F&B outlets, gyms and tuition centres. Mr. Chan said they had to think of new measures for them to open their doors again safely. And that's especially when many may need more measures because they interact more with the public. To this end, a task force has been formed to help retailers and restaurant owners do so.
All right, and our reporter Michelle Teo with the latest updates on the multi-ministry task force news conference.